Little did we know when we hit the airwaves today that the Titans were going to trade Kevin Byard right in the middle of our show. So let's bring Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, back to our microphones. Terry, I know you've confirmed this with Byard's agent. Tell me, read the tea leaves here. What does this tell you?
This tells me the Titans are rebuilding, George. I mean, this is the start of it. I mean, you don't let go a face of the franchise like Kevin Byard unless A, he wants out, or B, you think that it's time to tear it down and rebuild. According to what Diana Rossini put out there, the Titans would be receiving safety Terrell Edmonds and two draft picks, a fifth rounder and a sixth rounder from the Eagles in return for Byard. So don't know a lot about Edmonds. I remember him from his Pittsburgh Steelers days. Seemed like he was a decent player, but certainly not on the level of Kevin Byard and the two draft picks that they're getting back, a fifth and a sixth. It helps to stockpile the number of picks because they were short on that last year or going into 2024, but certainly not anything of great value that you would say allows you to guarantee a difference maker.
Okay, earlier this summer, we got wind that Kevin Byard and Rand Carthon were not going to be exchanging Christmas cards. Did that have anything to do with this?
I don't know if it had a direct bearing on it, but it probably didn't help, George. I mean, you think about it. You know, the GM came to him asking to take a pay cut. He said that his play did not warrant taking a pay cut. Then later on, about at the end of mini camps and all, he acquiesced. He agreed to a restructured deal that cut his salary by about $3 million, which amazingly enough allowed them to add DeAndre Hopkins, which was supposed to be one of the big pieces that kept this team in contention. And now they're shedding Kevin Byard, 6 weeks into the season. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, I guess there's the thought that Kevin Byard was going to be a cap cut anyway with a high cap number next year with the Titans, as they probably would, still be involved in the rebuild. So I guess the move was they decided to get something for him rather than nothing.
Okay, let's speculate here, Terry, if this is because clearly 2 weeks ago you came out and said it one way, I came out and said it another. You said if they play their A game, they can be pretty dangerous, but they're not always going to play their A game. I went with the who's kidding who. This is a 7-10 football team. Apparently, Carthon agreed with us.
Apparently so. I mean, because I don't think this team is going to contend this year, and they certainly aren't better off for having shed Kevin Byard. So it looks like the rebuild is on. And George, if you continue to think about this, this is probably just the first domino to fall. And I got to think that if you're going full out rebuild, then this probably reinforces the thought that Will Levis might be your quarterback on Sunday.
Yeah. So it seems like Vrabel has put out a lot of signs that don't point to this, but now Carthon has made this move that does point to this. So who's next in the moving van business?
It's a good question. I mean, there's still a few names. If they really wanted to move on from Derrick Henry, I guess they could. DeAndre Hopkins would probably fetch something for them. But I think it's a situation where, like I told you before, George, when you start to deal off these veteran players and you get back middle round draft picks, the return on investment's not always what you would hope it would be.
Okay, I'm going to assume for just speculation, you can't move Tannehill right now just simply because of the injury. Yes?
Correct. I would think that anybody that took on Tannehill, if they wanted to move him, would want to see him healthy and available to play. Normally these types of issues, ankle injuries and all, would warrant that he probably is going to miss about 2 to 3 weeks, I would think. So, we don't know exactly what the extent of it is, but Vrabel hinted that it was a lot like last year. He missed 2 games last year And it was obvious, George, when they brought him back that it was probably a little bit too soon.
Okay, let me try this one on you. And this seems kind of strange to feel this way, but the Eagles were desperate enough a week ago to bring Julio Jones, who is a shadow of the great Atlanta Julio Jones, back. DeAndre Hopkins to somebody fairly soon?
I wouldn't rule it out now. I mean, because, it's a situation where I would think that if the Titans were inclined to do that, that they would want to see Traylon Burks back and being healthy before they moved on from DeAndre Hopkins, because then you'd really be in a world of hurt at the receiver position if you were without both of those guys. So that's probably something to keep an eye on here in the coming days and in the next week or so to see what might happen. But at this point, I don't think you can rule out much of anything that they moved on from Kevin Byard.
Kelly, I've got to have Terry out of here in 2 minutes. Anything you want to add or a question for Terry you might want to ask?
No, I was just thinking right now, you're talking about Derrick Henry, but I think DeAndre Hopkins is probably the more trade bait than Derrick Henry is, especially with him just coming to the team. Maybe he has a little bit more value, but I think he might be too, saying like, I don't know if he's putting feelers out saying, it's getting late in my career. I want to go to a team that I can have a chance to win with. So maybe that's where that comes in. I think he would probably be more trade bait than Derrick Henry at this point.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Kelly. I think you're right on. I think, Hopkins certainly has shown in the 6 weeks that he's been on the field as a Titan that he certainly has quite a bit left in the tank. Not that Henry doesn't, but it goes back to this. The Titans are built around the run game and Derrick Henry. There are not a lot of teams that are built that way in the NFL now. It's so much easier for a wide receiver to come in and add to an offense than it is to put Derrick Henry in an offense, because he's never really been a supporting piece. He's always been the featured back here, at least since he became the starter. And I don't think anybody else values Derrick Henry the way the Titans do.
Terry, just this thought. Is this something Mike Vrabel endorsed? Because deep down, this doesn't sound like it.
Well, I mean, it may be, and who knows, it may be a situation where they went to Kevin Byard and said, hey, we can do this for you. Do you want to do it? And maybe laid their cards on the table and said, we're headed for a rebuild. What do you think? And the chance to win in Philadelphia certainly would be alluring, especially since that's where he's originally from as well.
Okay, listen, on really short notice, appreciate it. Let's see where all this goes.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.